What's up, you guys? I'm Rachel DeMita, and welcome to the Courtside Club. Before we jump into today's video, I just want to let you guys know that I had a bad reaction at the dentist yesterday, and this side of my face is still pretty swollen and in pain, and I honestly can't hear very well out of my left ear. Everything sounds muffled in my head, so my apologies in advance if my face looks a little bit different or my voice sounds a little bit different. I'm trying to power through, and hopefully all of this passes very, very soon. But with that being said, there is so much going on in the WNBA today, so we've got to talk about it. And let's start with the biggest story of the day, and that is the news that DeWanna Bonner is no longer with the Indiana Fever. It was reported last night that DeWanna Bonner had no intentions on returning to the Indiana Fever, and then the news broke today that the Indiana Fever had indeed waived DeWanna Bonner. And here is DB's statement. She said, "I want to sincerely thank the Indiana Fever for the opportunity to be part of the Fever franchise. Despite our shared goals and excitement heading into the season, I felt the fit did not work out, and I appreciate the organization's willingness to grant my request to move on, particularly at this point in my career. I wish the Fever great success as they continue to build around this dynamic group of young players." Now, in my last solo video, I mentioned to you guys that I did not suspect DeWanna Bonner would be returning to the Indiana Fever. She has been out now for 6 games away from the team for only personal reasons, and the team was being really tight-lipped about it. They weren't giving any more information. But the whole thing, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of fans, is that there was something else going on. This didn't seem like something where there was maybe something going on with her family. It didn't seem like she was sick or injured. She just simply stepped away from the team, and nobody really knew why, but it wasn't looking good. And all of our suspicions were proven true with this news. And I honestly think across the board, this situation was not handled well. Just a couple days ago, Coach Stephanie White was saying that she was in contact with DB and that they were just taking it day by day. And then the very next day, when she was once again asked about DB, she said, well, we haven't really been in conversation that much. So it was very contradictory what she was telling the media. And I understand when you're trying to keep something under wraps, but I feel like the organization, Coach Stephanie White, and the media missed the mark on this. And Annie Costabile was the one who broke the news, but I just don't understand where the media was through all of this. Like, if this was the NBA, there would have been so many reporters trying to get the inside scoop. Every single practice, there would have been questions about DeWanna Bonner, and I just don't feel like going 6 games, being away from the team with no explanation and having it be personal reasons, and then we find out it's something like this. I think the whole thing, honestly, was mismanaged. I think it could have been handled a different way, and I think this is a tough blow for the team. Whether DeWanna was a good fit with the team or not, this is a tough blow. They brought her in with Coach Stephanie White. Coach Stephanie White was DB's coach last season as well, so they do have some sort of relationship between the two of them. She was brought in to be a veteran, to be a leader. We heard from all the different players how excited they were to play with DeWanna. I feel like the respect across the board from the Fever players and from the Fever fans, like they all loved DB. And so a lot of people were shocked by this news and shocked by the fact that it seemed like she wanted to go to another team just because this wasn't a good fit. But I think a lot of us are just confused as to why she needed to be away for 6 games to come to this conclusion. Now, with that, you guys, I want to wish DeWanna Bonner the best, and I think the Indiana Fever will be fine, and they're already starting to make moves and get new players on this roster. Now, I will also say that DeWanna Bonner was waived by the Indiana Fever, but there was a notice that was put out to other teams to not claim DeWanna Bonner because she prefers to sign with the Mercury. Now, this was so interesting, but not shocking. Obviously, her wife, Alyssa Thomas, plays for the Phoenix Mercury, and I'm sure they would love to play together. But it's interesting in the sense that the Mercury are doing great this season. They are actually 3rd in the standings, and they would have to cut somebody in order to pick up DeWanna Bonner. The Mercury would need to cut 1 player to stay under the WNBA's league-mandated 12-player roster maximum. Sources have indicated that the Mercury signing Bonner is not set in stone, given the potential it has to disrupt a strong dynamic developing among Phoenix's core. And DeWanna Bonner's contract was not guaranteed with the Indiana Fever, but that is a $200,000 contract that Phoenix Phoenix would be picking up. And I honestly thought that the Indiana Fever should have tried to trade DeWanna Bonner. And I don't know if between that 6-game series, maybe they were trying to trade DeWanna Bonner and they couldn't find a suitor for her. They couldn't find the kind of asset that they would want to trade her for. Maybe that's why it was so tight-lipped. And then after this grace period, they had to announce the news, and they just had to announce that DB was being waived because they couldn't find another team that would trade for her value with something that would fit the Indiana Fever. But I thought that this was so interesting, and we'll just have to see what the Phoenix Mercury do with this information if they do decide to cut some people from their roster just to pick up DB. Now, there was also reports that DB was unhappy with the fact that she wasn't starting with the Indiana Fever, and she was expecting to start with the Indiana Fever. But if you guys remember, at the beginning of the season, DB was in the starting lineup. She wasn't playing her best, and Lexi Hall has been playing great. She's made a huge leap from last season to this season, and so she went into that starting lineup at the 3 position, and then DB was coming off the bench. So all of this at this point is still speculation as to what was going on in the locker room, how unhappy DB actually was. But I will say across the board, I feel like this was mishandled. It became more dramatic than it needed to be because they were not transparent with what was actually going on. I feel like if it was a situation where they said, you know what, DB's in her final years of her career, it's not a great fit with the Indiana Fever, we are going to try to find a better home for her, and they came out with that information earlier on, like not waiting 2 weeks to give the public that information, I feel like it would have been accepted a lot better. But right now on social media, if you are seeing the comments, if you are seeing what people have to say, a lot of people are not happy with that situation. But one thing that fans are happy about is the fact that the Indiana Fever have re-signed Aari McDonald. If you guys remember, Aari McDonald was somebody who was signed on a hardship contract for the Indiana Fever when both Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham were out. Now she is back with the team, and she provided such a spark for the Indiana Fever. She came in right away. She didn't know the play, she didn't know the system, but what she did was she went out on the court, she played with heart, she played with pace, she played with energy, she had a great attitude about her, and it seemed like all the Indiana Fever players loved her. The fans welcomed her in immediately, and fans were so sad when they did have to cut her in order to make space for Caitlin and Sophie to come back. But that 10-day grace period has now passed, and Aari is back with the Fever. Now, I will speculate that I think there might have been conversations had between the Fever and Aari McDonald before they cut her, because Aari McDonald could have easily been picked up by any other team, and I'm sure that there was other teams in the WNBA who were watching her play with the Fever, and I'm sure that there was other teams who would want to pick her up as well. But maybe there was some sort of handshake deal in the background saying, look, Aari, we're gonna get you back on the team, just please wait it out, please wait out these 10 days and we will sign you the minute that we can. And that is exactly what the Indiana Fever did. And I don't think that this is the last roster change that the Indiana Fever are going to make. Obviously, without DB's contract, they're able to take in Aari McDonald, but her contract is very light. And I think that there are possibly other players that the Indiana Fever could cut, or there could be at least one more player that they will take in. A lot of fans are speculating about them bringing in a big, but we will just have to see what they do from here. Sorry guys, I had to restart my camera, but I do briefly want to talk about the game last night. The Indiana Fever defeated the Seattle Storm 94-86. I was worried about this game because it was the 3rd game in a row on the road for the Indiana Fever, and the Seattle Storm has had a pretty great start to their season. They are a tough team, they are full of veteran players, but last night 3 players stepped up big time for the Indiana Fever. Aaliyah Boston ended the night with 31 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists. Kelsey Mitchell, 26 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. And Lexi Hall recorded her first ever double-double with 15 points and 11 rebounds. Overall, you guys, the Indiana Fever played pretty well. I got nervous at the end because they had this big lead. I think it was like 16 or 19 points in the 4th quarter. And then Seattle made a run back, and within the last few minutes, I was just like, oh no, not this again, not them getting a big lead and then blowing it, but they were able to finish out the game. And with that, you guys, Caitlin Clark struggled once again. She ended the night with 6 points. She was 0 for 6 from 3 and 3 for 13 from the field. Now, I'm sure that you have heard everyone and their mother's opinions on Caitlin Clark's cold streak. It does look like she is not playing with as much joy as we are used to seeing with Caitlin Clark. She is not playing with as much fire as we're used to seeing with Caitlin Clark. I honestly hope that this is just a cold streak. This is just a shooting slump and she's able to find her way out of it. From her body language and her energy levels, if I were to guess, I feel like there is something going on with her body. Maybe she's sick. Maybe she has some sort of lingering injury. But even before the game, when they were shooting half court shots, she made her half court shot. And normally, you guys, if you've follow the Indiana Fever social media, when Caitlin makes her half court shot, she celebrates, she gets in her teammates' faces. Like, she is so very animated about it. And even in that moment, it felt like she was conserving energy. She made it and then she just kind of looked around, which again is fine for any other player. But if you know Caitlin Clark, like, that's part of her DNA to be this fiery, spicy player. She's a loudmouth at times. And we are just not seeing that even with the things that she's doing pregame. So all I'm going to say is I'm not worried about it. I know that she will snap out of it. She has proven herself time and time again from college and even in the WNBA. She has shown us what she is capable of. So I'm not worried about it. However, for her own sake, for her own health and mental health, I hope I hope that she can turn it around quickly, because when it does get into these stretches, when they have tough teams, the Indiana Fever is going to need Caitlin Clark. It is so incredible to see players like Aaliyah, like Kelsey, like Lexi step up in these big moments when their star player isn't performing at her highest ability. They were able to step up, and I honestly think Aaliyah Boston should be on player watch for Player of the Month. She has just been doing incredible this month and truly helping her team. Now, on the Seattle Storm side, I do want to shout out Erica Wheeler. If you guys remember, Erica Wheeler played for the Indiana Fever last season. She is a veteran. She had been with the Fever for a few seasons. She lost her starting spot to Caitlin Clark, but fans always loved Erica Wheeler because she always had so much energy on the bench. Like, even when she wasn't on the floor, she was cheering on her team. She had a great attitude about her, and she always had a team first mentality. And that is something with Erica Wheeler. She is finding so much success with the Seattle Storm. She had 20 points last night, 2 assists and 2 rebounds. She guarded Caitlin Clark for much of the time when Caitlin was on the floor, and she still had such a great attitude to her former teammates. Even before the game, she had Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell over her house for dinner. Erica Wheeler is somebody in the WNBA who deserves more respect and more praise than she is given, and I just wanted to shout her out because it seems like she has found a really good spot at the Seattle Storm, and they have a really good team between her and Skylar Diggins and Neko Gumake, who also just won Western Conference Player of the Month. This team is really scary and they are one to look out for. So with that, you guys, I hope this video wasn't too all over the place. It's honestly so hard to focus with my ear feeling like this, and I just feel like there's so much fluid in my face. But you guys let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below. Thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it and click that little subscribe button because we upload new videos every single week. And with that, you guys, I'll see you next time. Uwiana.